Questions now from the party spokespeople. Welsh Conservative spokesperson James Evans.
Cabinet Secretary, it's been extremely concerning to read the reports in relation to Hybu Cig Cymru and the toxic bullying culture within the organisation. The CEO has stood down, 2 senior executives are leaving, and board members are on the verge of resigning. There's been no board minutes published since 2022, no up-to-date financial statements or no annual reports on their website since 2021. This is a very concerning position for HCC to find itself in. The body underpins an industry that's been valued at over £1 billion to Wales. So can you explain, please, the steps that you are taking as the Cabinet Secretary to address the concerns that have been raised about HCC and the culture within the organisation, as the Welsh Government is the sole member of the company and the ultimate controlling party of HCC?
Thank you for that question. And clearly we are aware and we note the concerns over issues to do with internal governance of Hybu Cig Cymru. But what I can tell you is I met only within the last week or fortnight with the chair of Hybu Cig Cymru to seek assurances which stakeholders will be really focused on the performance of Hybu Cig Cymru for the red meat sector. Is it doing what it needs to do? Is it engaging with stakeholders and so on? And what I can say is that at that meeting I sought and was given those assurances. And I note, by the way, that HCC, I understand, is contacting stakeholders to actually assure them that the Welsh Lamb campaign is due to launch next month to reach over 20 million target consumers in key regions. They're attending trade shows this month in the US as part of ongoing efforts developing the US market for Welsh lamb. That's part of a series of trade events that they'll be at. They're continuing to work proactively with processors and exporters to support the development of key Welsh lamb accounts at home and overseas. They're working on their R&D projects, including Grass Check, GB and Ram Compare, and so on. So in terms of their day-to-day business and their performance, they're getting on with it. I've had those reassurances that performance is not affected, their engagement with stakeholders is, but clearly I'm aware, as you are, of the internal governance issues, and I'm sure they are focused on resolving them.
Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. I know you realise, as I do, it's a very critical time for the agricultural sector across Wales. Our farmers do want to produce the highest quality food and have that food exported to every single market that's available to them. And reports of our industry body being off the mark and not having any strategic vision is very, very damaging for the sector, and it is undermining farmers' confidence in actually paying their levy to HCC. It doesn't have a permanent CEO at the moment. We're aware that the current CEO who was there has stood down. And a lot of people in the industry as well are very concerned whether the board and the chairman of the board have got the power and the levers that they need to actually turn the organisation around. The industry is losing faith, Cabinet Secretary. I know there are board members currently who are standing down. I want to know, are you making any interim arrangements to put people onto that board with the relevant expertise that they need to get this turnaround so our farmers can have confidence in that body?
Well, first of all, just to say this is not, and I hope I was clear in my initial response, this is an organisation who is continuing to do its day-to-day business and is performing on behalf of its stakeholders. And it's important, James, that we make that message very, very clear. There is a difference between what we have all heard, you said today on the floor of the Senate, about the issues of internal governance, and they do need, of course, to deal with that, and they are dealing with that. And it is for Hybu Cig Cymru to work through that. There is an interim chief executive, of course, in place. Has been in place since January. The chair I met with recently. But as I reported to you in my initial response, although I could go further as well, but I'm sure Hybu Cig Cymru would be happy to put some of this information out there as well, on the day-to-day business and their engagement both domestically and internationally in promoting the interests of our red meat sector. They are doing it. They are not losing focus at all. They are very focused on doing this, and in fact, we know from recent years and on an ongoing basis how important Hybu Cig Cymru is to the success of our red meat sector. So I can give you that assurance based on the meeting that I held recently with the chair. But there is an interim chief executive in place. As other appointments need to be made, they will be elevated up to me to make decisions on them. But I have had those reassurances on performance, and it's important to say that here publicly rather than exacerbate what is a difficult issue in terms of governance.
Yeah, I don't like to exacerbate a cabinet secretary. What I'm trying to do is just explain the situation that actually the industry finds itself in. You know, people have lost a bit of confidence in HCC, and I think it's right that we try and rebuild that, because what I and the Welsh Conservatives would like to see, Cabinet Secretary, not the industry would like to see, is a fully independent meat marketing board for Wales, run by farmers and processors, for farmers and processors, who can actually directly elect people onto their boards, and actually unnecessarily our industry body being taken away from the hands of Welsh Government, because we need it to be fully focused on its responsibility to develop and promote our Welsh meat sector here around Wales. Farmers and processors fund HCC through the levy. I know Welsh Government put a little bit of money into it to actually keep it going. But a lot of farmers I'm speaking to, Cabinet Secretary, are telling me, take it away from Welsh Government, give it back to the industry, give it to the processors, let them directly appoint people onto that board, and if they don't perform, they can take them away. I think that's a better way for us to do that, rather than have the guiding hand of government over it. So would you agree with me that's actually a position we need to move to, similar to the way that Beef and Lamb New Zealand works? It's industry-led and it actually delivers for our farmers. It doesn't have government tending to control and being the sole party in it.
Well, that's not the universal voice that I've heard from all farmers, and I've certainly heard from many farmers and those in the red meat supply chain that welcome the work that Hybu Cig Cymru has done over many years and want to see it continuing. But I hear what you're saying. You've got an alternative way forward. But it isn't the universal voice that I've heard from farmers. What farmers want currently is to know that Hybu Cig Cymru will do the job on their behalf and their performance is up to spec. So I think in this current situation, whilst you may have models of different ways forward for representation of the red meat sector, we need to ensure that the current Hybu Cig Cymru actually performs on its day-to-day basis now and for, as I outlined in my initial response there, all the work that they're engaged in, both domestically and internationally, to get us into existing and new markets, extend our reach into existing markets, expand into new markets in the year ahead, and they have a busy itinerary ahead.